gonna make it, just keep chasing your dream. No matter how hard it seems, we gotta keep working a little bit longer. Every day getting a little bit stronger.
Welcome to Dream Chaser Radio.
Yo, who you think probably done that right there? You know, just to be curious to see what they say. And you say, I don't know, but whoever done it, that's some remarkable talent, you know?
It's the Dream Chaser Show. Welcome back to the show, everybody. My guest today is known as the Bowtie King of Atlanta. Jay Austin is the owner and creator of the exclusive Jay Austin Bowtie collection. Jay, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. How's everything going?
Everything's wonderful, and thanks for having us, Will.
Now, Jay, one of the things I see as being impressive about your success is you've done it in an industry which is tough, but even more so on top of that, you've been able to create success in a very tough niche. Up until very recently, the bow tie hasn't really been that prevalent. So why, out of the million directions you could have gone, why did you decide to go the route of the bow tie?
Well, that's a very good question that we get asked all the time, Will. So I'll kind of break that into three parts. How I got into bow ties, I've been keeping a journal now over 25 years. And when I was 27 years old, oddly enough, I wrote to myself and made a commitment to myself that when I turned 40, I was going to learn to tie a bow tie, start wearing them on a regular basis. So what happened was, being true to myself, I got my first bow tie off the rack, and I quickly found out that unlike a regular tie, when you put fine silk really close to your face, 5 o'clock shadow just really cuts fine silk up, and they were fraying pretty bad. And then I started looking at the cost of ownership, and I kind of felt a little let down because one, nobody told me that's what would happen, and then two, I asked myself, I said, well, who said, or where's there a law, or who wrote the book saying that all the bow ties have to be made out of one fabric? So my wife and my business partner and my best friend is very unique, and she is very creative. So I asked her, could she make me a bow tie? And she went to a local store and bought a sewing machine, and we got some fabric to practice with. And I remember going to sleep that night, and I woke up and I had a bow tie. So it kind of, I was working. I did 12 years in the automotive retail industry, and I had the bow tie on. And at the time, I was working at a Lexus dealership, and I had the bow tie that my wife made me on. And I walked through the dealership, and a client came through the showroom and really had a fit about my bow tie and asked me, where'd I get that bow tie? And I told him, I said, well, my wife made it. And he asked me, could she make me one? And then the entrepreneurial juices got to going, and here we are 3 years later, and now I'm the bow tie king of Atlanta.
That's interesting. And I've even heard people say that you are somewhat personally responsible for bringing back a lot of the popularity of the bow tie.
Well, excuse me, it's an honor to be thought of in that way, but quite naturally, the way I do things, my mother always told me, if you're gonna do something, be the best at it. I actually did my homework on the bow tie, and I would actually question the fact that there's a resurgence, as opposed to the bow tie never really went anywhere. I think what the real situation was, it was almost a lost art of how to tie a bow tie. So it's always been around. It's been exposed to a higher end culture, where I think now the fashion pendulum is starting to swing back towards the middle, where you never get a second chance to make a first impression, and the guy that wears a bow tie tends to be more of an analytical, free, creative thinker, and that's just the way I see it. But again, it's good to be thought of at the forefront of a fashion trend that's back in pop culture, if you will.
At any point, did you ever have any doubts that you could pull this off? I mean, we are talking about bow ties here. Were there ever any doubts that came into your mind? Of course, everyone gets inspired by that initial idea, the initial inspiration, but there ever any points where you said, hold on a second, I could do something a little bit easier here?
Well, actually, I got to go on record and say no. before, well, let me back up a little bit. My personality is, I'm wired this way, Will. Either I'm all in or I'm all out on anything that I do. And when we got into it, I quickly realized that the bow tie wasn't for everyone, but the people that wore them tend to have felt like I felt was I don't have a selection when I go to the finer stores. They all look alike. And I found out that after being in corporate America, and I look at my 1,000 neckties that I have, I can remember, I had one tie for a power look. If I was going to meet with the CEO, I had a fun tie. If I was going to, go to the office and have fun that day. But when I looked at the bow ties, there was nobody really addressing that, different personalities of a bow tie wearer. So I knew at that point that we had a niche market that was going to be able to sustain us. And I was really excited when we were doing our homework, if you will, and I actually did a Google Analytics search just to see who was searching the word custom bow tie, and I was totally amazed at the top 4 cities. Atlanta was number 1, Washington D.C. was number 2, Detroit was number 3, and Chicago was number 4. Armed with that information, there was really nothing to be scared about. It was I really focused a lot of my attention on maintaining and keeping a certain quality and building my brand more so than the bow ties themselves.
Wow, you did research, and that's key. I think a lot of entrepreneurs kind of just go into something head first without doing the proper research to make sure they are in a sustainable niche. So I think that's really key that you did that. One thing that's very apparent about you is that you're very confident, and you're obviously a positive thinker.
Sure.
How has personal development attributed to your success? What kind of personal development do you do, if any?
Well, and that's a great question, Will. First and foremost, as far as personal development, my spiritual journey is at the core of my personal development. That's the core of who I am. Secondly, I'm talking about commitments to oneself. Almost 20 years ago, someone had told me, someone that I felt really cared about me, they told me that I should look into Toastmasters. And just being in corporate America, a lot of times time is just a valuable commodity and you really can't spend on yourself. But I would have to say Toastmasters International has really been good for me. Not that I've always been told that I was confident, but like I like to tell people who are on the cusp of actually doing something for themselves, I like to use my shoe analogy. You could go to the store and get a really nice pair of shoes, but there's a difference if you have one shoe that's polished and one that's not polished. So now I see the importance as we grow, and I think I've wrapped my hands around and my mind around that I'm the face of the brand. So those little investments in yourself, you never get a second chance to make that first impression. Keeping your hand in the Lord's hands, quoting my mother. These are things that constantly, I think, keep me centered and keep me growing and keep me challenging myself.
You've also had some personal challenges that you've overcome. I know you dealt with a drinking problem that eventually led you to being homeless. You mind talking to us a little bit about that? Absolutely.
A lot of people say, especially in the black community, it's almost cool to say that we come from a long line of drinkers. That used to be a badge of honor through high school, through my teens, through my 20s. But what I think for me to kind of, get right to the heart of the matter, I didn't know how drinking and a lifestyle kind of made me consume people, if you will, as opposed to building relationships. After being married for 5 years, I ended up getting a divorce, and I stepped on so many people without inadvertently or just not even caring that, when I hit rock bottom and reached out, there was really nobody there. But it made me find the center of myself. But the price that I paid to find the center of myself was actually being homeless. And to this day, a lot of the core values that what people actually like about Jay Austin, I can share with you that it was those values that I learned when I was homeless. So now I don't take any relationship for granted. I give thanks for the small things, which I guess I'm old school. There are no big problems. There are just a bunch of small ones. And I say the same thing now with blessings. You know, there are no big blessings. There's just little tiny ones that add up. So, you know, having said that, being homeless is something that's near and dear to my heart. And our companies, we've been in business, we just celebrated our 3rd year. It's important to us to take 12% of our quarterly proceeds, and I want to go on record here and say, you know, to all the entrepreneurs out there, sometimes that 12% may be $100, but it's actually sowing a seed to every time you buy a tie from us, you're getting a quality product, you're getting something custom made. But then we always like to leave people with the idea of knowing that, hey, you know, our bow ties help, you know, give somebody a hand up and not a hand out.
That's big. That's real big. So being homeless, I remember you shared with me that at this point you're able to appreciate wealth a lot better. You remember a point where it was a choice between buying a brand new shirt and deodorant. Talk to us about kind of maybe some of the more challenging situations that you may have come across during that period.
Well, one in particular, and I was talking about it to some people earlier today, it's almost, Will, like when someone comes up to you and just says, you know, how you doing today? We say that 1,000 times a day. We say it to people passing by. We say it when we go into the office. But when you're homeless, nobody's asking you how you're doing today. I was raised in a military household. My idea of authority is to be respected. When you're addressing the law enforcement officers, yes sir, no sir. That's in my DNA. That's the way I was raised. When you're homeless, you see police officers differently. You don't want to make any waves, but it's their job to kind of, hey, keep moving, and you can't stay here. You got to find some place. And it was almost as if someone had reached inside of me and just unplugged my vocal cords and then just painted me with invisible paint. And it's for somebody like me who's been the life of the party. I like to dance, and I get my name Jay from being able to rap, and I wanted to be Jam Master Jay back in the day. I'm a popular guy, but to lose that, it was challenging for me. But it also humbled me to the point to where, now people come up to me all the time and say, hey, that's the Bowtie King. I can take that in stride now. I can take it as a compliment that it is. It doesn't make me better. It doesn't make me worse. And that's one of the challenges that I face being homeless. And then it's one of the core values that I learned on the upside to, don't take yourself too seriously. I mean, take it for what it is, and always remain humble. And I really identify with homelessness now. I mean, I identify more with a person without a home than I do somebody who's maybe sitting on a lot of land. And you should reward yourself with the fruits of your labor. But there's a lot of homeless people out there that are good people. And I would like to say that, bad things, happen to good people as well. So.
And what's ironic is that you've gone from a position of being homeless at one point to being connected with some of the wealthiest business people in Atlanta. Now, I know African Americans, a lot of times we struggle with making a lot of those connections with the inner circle. Tell me what your process is for developing relationships and kind of how you view, what's your mindset going into it? I mean, it's nothing to see you in the city club sitting across from a very successful attorney or someone of great affluence, but yet you've come from a background of being homeless.
Well, that's a good question, Will. And it's two things about me. I'm just going to put it out here to the listening audience. I love baseball. I love the fact that I've earned my stripes if you will, as a car guy. I started out selling cars on the blacktop and worked my way all the way up into management. And one thing that I take from the car business is, regardless of whether you're a professional athlete, a Delta pilot, or a cook at Waffle House, as long as we put our pants on one leg at a time, we're all people. And I think at the core, when I'm sitting down from somebody, kind of like I said at the beginning of this interview, I'm looking at not the differences, but the similarities. And there are certain similarities that all human beings have. We all got a heart and a brain, and we have fears and joys. And I tend to focus more on that. And then I'm always listening. When you meet people of affluent, it's funny. I was actually reading a book, Think and Grow Rich, and it knocked my socks off that some of the highest net worth individuals work their way up. So basically, I have more in common with them than maybe some of the people who were given advantages, because it's real easy and it's human nature to take things for granted. So I just, to answer the question, to sum it up, is I meet everyone on a human level first, and then we go from there.
I like it. Now, you have this bow tie collection, and I know you're doing some other things. I hear something about you've just launched your own cologne line.
Yes, Tie the Knot. I actually had the opportunity to meet someone who blends custom fragrances for high-end weddings, and I can remember thinking it was such a good idea. And at one of our bow tie club mixers, we attract like you said earlier, we attract a affluent crowd, and I had an opportunity to come in, and they were the owner was happy, or a lot of people are excited about our success, so they had us come in, and I got a chance to go through the process. It kind of just grew from there. As different people got exposed to it, it created a lot of excitement. So we figured, hey, why not go public with it? And we've got just great feedback so far. So yeah, we did our soft launch this week. Got some really good feedback. So we're gearing up for a hard launch soon. So.
That's great. I had the opportunity to actually smell it, and you did a really good job on it, man.
Thank you.
So great job there. Now you're doing a lot of different things. There's a collection which is very successful. Now you're going into the fragrance line. There's a lot of people out there that really want to do these type of things. They want to go into fashion, and it tends to be one of the tougher niches to get into. What kind of advice would you give someone who wants to start their own line, their own collection?
I would say this, and I know it's going to sound cliche, but and I forget who said it, but to thine own self be true. A lot of times with fashion, I think I run across people who have gone to the Fashion Institute and the SCADs and whatever, and basically they're teaching you theory, and they're teaching you what things should look like from a school book perspective, which I would tell anybody, go to school, get that if that's what you really want to do. You want to know about it, but I challenge you not to spend so much time learning how somebody else did it, as opposed to the way you want to do it. I heard a song one time, and it kind of summed it up. Style is loving yourself until everyone else does too. I think if you could hold those principles, near and dear to heart, understand that everybody who calls herself a stylist is not necessarily professionally trained. And if you're gonna get into your craft, learn everything about it. But just don't be afraid to follow your vision, because a lot of times when people tell you what they can't do, what they're really saying is, what stopped them. So you don't want to get caught up in that. Surround yourself with positive people and believe in yourself.
That's great advice. So I do manage to do my homework, come up with my line. Okay, let's say I'm doing t-shirts. What do I do day one? What does that person do day one? Do I knock on doors, door to door? What does that person do day one after they have the product?
Well, kind of like you said earlier, I don't watch TV. I don't have a TV in my house, and the TV that I do have in my house is plugged up to a VCR. Oh, excuse me, I'm dating myself, to a DVD. And everything that I watch is something, it's a movie that we DVD. I get all my information online now. Having said that, I did watch The Apprentice season 1. And it really stuck with me because you had all of these Harvard graduated people who were distinguished in their areas, but Donald Trump had these people go out to not Grand Central Station, but Times Square, excuse me. Had them go out to Times Square, buy some lemons, get a table, get some water, make some lemonade, and go out there person by person, sell their lemonade. And the person who sold the most came back and they went on to the next level.
I remember that season.
That is the way I would recommend. I mean, if you can get out there and build it organically, don't rely so much. And I know we live in a social media age, but if you're going to sell anything, people buy you. And when they buy you, you're increasing your sales force, because the way we've grown our businesses are keeping true to our core values, taking care of the customers who are spending money with us, and inevitably, if I'm spending money with you, I don't have a problem going out saying, hey, my guy's got a widget, my guy's got a t-shirt, I got this t-shirt from, and then you incorporate that into social media, in my opinion. So, day one, set up your lemonade stand and let people know. I think America, especially Atlanta, is just the place for second chances. I mean, nobody's from Atlanta. People come down here with bright ideas, and, so you got a great microcosm of people who are willing to give somebody a chance if it's, if they feel you're genuine and sincere. And you have to have a quality product.
Now, it's obvious you're a big thinker. What vision do you have for the company? Where are you trying to take all this?
We actually, it's probably been about 5 months ago, we actually had somebody from Indiana, a corporation, reach out and sent us a nice letter, offered to buy us. And that's almost unheard of with under 5 years experience under your belt. So, after having that experience, I've kind of changed my plans from the standpoint of, I want to take this. I want the name Jay Austin to be synonymous with the word bow tie. If I had to sum it up, if I was a cookie mogul, I'd want to be Famous Amos. If I did popcorn, I want to be Orville Redenbacher. I would. Our mission is to teetotally, especially in Atlanta. I just want to teetotally dominate my local market. Within 5 years, I don't want anybody to be able to walk down the street in the great city of Atlanta, in the great state of Georgia, in a bow tie and not be asked, is that a Jay Austin bow tie? We get hits from all over the world, but our plan is to dominate Atlanta. Atlanta's the one that put us on the map, and like you said earlier, I'm originally from Los Angeles, but Atlanta now is in the same sentence as the New Yorks, the same as the New Yorks and the Los Angeleses. And then secondly, just as important, our company, or Jay Austin Bow Ties, we want to be the largest contributor to the Nicholas House. I think, once I can stroke that check or whatever that number is, when we can go in and put it on the front of our website and say, hey, we're the biggest contributor to giving homeless families a hand up and not a handout, I think our mission will have been accomplished.
A lot of people may not be familiar with what exactly the Nicholas House is. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
I can, and if you got your pens out there, I'm going to start you out with the website. It's www.nicholashouse.org. They actually have open door tours, and you could get that information on their website. But Nicholas House is a highly competitive, highly structured, transitional shelter for families here in the local Atlanta area that is accountability based, and as long as you're hitting your benchmarks and working closely with your case manager, they will give you every opportunity to succeed as long as you're hitting your benchmarks. If you complete the program, they monitor you for up to 24 months after you leave the program, and the recidivism rate is so low. I think we can go on record and say once you complete that program, you're ready to stand on your own 2 feet, and you're not going to go back to homelessness, and your kids and your family, you got a chance of getting that second start. Nicholashouse.org is where I would send you to if you want to find more information. Again, our goal, our benchmark, when we can stroke that check and be their largest contributor, that's when I feel Jay Austin has quote unquote arrived.
Good stuff. What I want to ask you is, how come more people don't think like you? How come more people aren't launching their own bow tie lines? Why aren't more people kind of doing what you're doing?
Well,
what's holding people back?
That's a great question, Will. And if I had to put my finger right on the point of the matter, everybody's looking for overnight success. First thing people want to do, especially Americans or younger generations, first thing they want to do is they want to go online. They want to source their product, whether it be bow ties or whatever. They want to source their product overseas, and they want to get it dirt cheap. They don't want to focus on the quality. They don't want to take time to get a sewing machine. And again, I'm old school. Back in the day, if you wanted to be a rapper, you had to scrape up money to go get you a turntable, and you had to, really go get in your basement, and you had to learn how to, that's how you ended up with the Jazzy Jeffs and the LL Cool J's. I mean, that's the way it used to be. So having said that, you have to put the work in. I mean, if when you stand out in front of somebody and ask them to spend hard, cold cash, basically what you're saying is, I'm an expert at, and then you fill in the blank. So if I'm not going to spend money on somebody who's not an expert or at least leading in their particular field. So there's no escalator or elevator to the top. It's one step at a time. Do you get tired? The first 2 years of our business, we were eating peanut butter and jelly and ramen noodles. But it was easy to do that, knowing that I'm making an investment in my future, and so it was easy. It wasn't like I felt like I was shortchanging myself. But having said that, why more people aren't doing it, in my opinion, is because they're looking for the escalator. They're looking for the quick buck. I think a lot of entrepreneurs could care less about building a brand. Again, I'm 43. I remember back in the day when Nike came out and they did the little swoop, people would laugh at you for wearing that. Everybody's like, well, who is Nike? But, they protected that brand. So, having said that, seeing how, we're doing bow ties, we launched a custom vest line, and then we came back with a fragrance. The reason we've had such success with these things is because the one common denominator across our vest, our bow ties, our fragrances, is we got a good brand. So, I would stress that, to sum it up, A, be the best at what you're doing. B, build your brand. And then C, don't be afraid to sit down. Right now, if somebody wants to come up and say they can make a better bow tie, we could break out a sewing machine, and in 24 hours, we could produce something. We bring something to life. That's important. That's important. It's not about just sourcing offshore, getting a margin, and then going to market. Can you make money doing that? Absolutely. Is it sustainable? That, jury's still out.
Well, and that's a very good point. And I like that you speak on one thing I think that holds a lot of people back is, like you kind of mentioned earlier, is the fear of being themselves. But then even more so, the fear of creating something and it possibly not being accepted. Can you speak a little bit on how you handle that? Because that's always a possibility. When you put yourself out there in the ring, sometimes you're going to get hit.
Well, you know what? That was actually the best follow-up question you could have asked in this interview today. I'll share with your listeners. My wife and I actually started a business, and it failed. We did everything, the business license, we got the cups and the mugs, and we did everything, and it failed. And, I'll be honest with you, I actually went into a deep depression after that, because I felt like, in front of my friends, I was a failure. I felt like I put everything out there. You have to go face people, and they're constantly asking you, how's that thing going? What are you doing? And it's a lot of pride, and it's humble. It will make you humble. But having said that, now 3 years into this business, I could share with you that I learned more from losing a business. I knew what not to do. I knew where to spend my money. I knew how to market myself. So basically, it was that loss that really catapulted us to where we are now. And I'm old school. You know, we used to say, and I'm going to clean the language up a little bit, but we used to say when kids were still fighting with their fists and not guns, that, you know, you couldn't give a butt whooping, and, you know, till you could take a butt whooping. So same thing in business. I mean, you know, you can't have a successful business unless you've lost one or really came close to losing one. You know, I always like to talk about my lovely wife. I like to talk about her because, you know, without her, you know, next to God, she's the most important thing in my life. She has made me the man that I am today, just with old-fashioned love and support. Every single tie that you see we're wearing, when I say me and any of our clients, I mean, I just want you to understand. And Will, you've been to one of our shows. I mean, at any one given show, we'll display 100 ties easily. My wife made every single one of those. They're handmade. It still blows my mind. So, you know, I always like talking about her and letting people know just the great work that she does. I've seen her up at 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, she's really dedicated. And, you know, I know a lot of people see me as the face of the company, but she's the president, she's the CFO, she manages all the money. And, you know, sometimes I feel I got the easy part, just being out there building the brand, but as the saying goes, you know, but beside every good man is a better woman. I can really attest to that. And, you know, I can't say enough about my wife, Jennifer.
Yeah, she's a great woman. In closing, I would be remiss if I did not ask you to let everyone know how they take a look at the collection, how they can order the ties. I know I have mine on order. I'm waiting on that.
You do. By Father's Day.
So how can everyone get in contact with you, take a look at the collection, and get it ordered?
Okay, I will put a couple things out there. First and foremost, the first Wednesday of each month here in Atlanta, if you're in the local Atlanta area, we host a bow tie mixer for the Jay Austin Bowtie Club, and our guest at Davio's at Phipps Plaza. You can get all the details on our website, which is jayaustinbowties.com. And if you want to see where we are, you go to the website. You can see probably about a third of our collection. But if you click on updates and then you click on the events window that opens up underneath updates, you will always know where we are, where we're going to be. And again, we'll have 100 bow ties plus on display, so you can touch it, feel it, see it, or you can order online. And we're constantly upgrading. We just another quick sneak peek is we just cut ribbon, if you will, on a formal collection, because we, you know, people with weddings, we identified another niche, and so we're going to service that. So be on the lookout for our formal bow tie collection coming probably, I don't know, about a month and a half. So jayaustinbowties.com would be the best way to be in contact with us. If you have any questions at all while you're on the website, we actually added a chat feature so you can chat with us live, real time, on any page. It'll just pop up, and you click the button, and you know, it's just like you're talking to me, like you're in a store. And we're real big on customer service. That's one of our core tenets.
Jay, I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Made in America.
Right. Wish you much continued success, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you continue to blow up and do big things. Until the next time we talk, live big, dream big.
All right. Thank you, Will.